Hey, what's going on, boys and girls? Any Pride here with Milk and Cookies Total War.
And this is madness.
And finally, we're going to be bringing you the head-to-head campaign for the Sekigahara mod, which is a mod for Shogun 2 set about 45 or so years after the beginning of the Sengoku Jidai period in feudal Japan. And it's a really interesting time period. There's a lot of history to discuss, and that's what we're going to be doing for maybe, I don't know how long it'll take, maybe like 5-10 minutes of the intro of this campaign, because I feel like it's important to set the groundwork for where this campaign is going. Now, we did actually start the campaign already, and we didn't want to record everything at the beginning just because the start for Shogun 2 is slow, as you guys know. So we wanted to get more of a power base going and get some stacks up and get some interesting things going on before we actually began it. Now, I haven't talked about the clans yet, and it's going to be the Toyotomi clan for me. I'm Indie Pride playing the Toyotomi, and Madness will be playing the Tokugawa. So it's a really interesting historical matchup, and I'm gonna read the introductions for both clans, and then Madness, who knows much more about feudal Japan than I do, will
Not
kind
that
of
much more, but
well
more.
he'll expand on what the intros for these clans say, and just talk a little bit about the history and some of the interesting things that arose from the feudal Japan Sengoku Jidai period. So I'm gonna read the Toyotomi one now. Hideyoshi, who is the main clan leader for the Toyotomi, was born the son of a peasant Ashigaru, and he was born in Owari province, which is where the Oda are from. And he was born a mere peasant and rose in stature to become a general for the Oda clan. Following the death of Oda Nobunaga, Hideyoshi began a rapid consolidation of power, usurping the power of the Oda clan and therefore taking control of a large slice of the country. This power base would only increase with the Chosokabe, Shimazu, and Hojo eventually falling to the Toyotomi coalition. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, at the time of this campaign, is now at the peak of his power, bearing countrywide influence and a powerful administrative entity, the Go-Bugyo, and immensely loyal vassals. Hideyoshi controls one of the most magnificent fortresses in the country, Osaka.
Well, what do you think I should expand on? I mean, the core is basically covered. Like, he was a peasant. Well, he was technically a sandal carrier. Like, he was a nobody and then managed to rise through the military ranks, became a general. And when Oda Nobunaga was betrayed by Akechi Mitsuhide, and murdered, he took over his realm through force and then expanded it to include the rest of the country. So I guess that's worth mentioning.
Absolutely,
And
he was the first or second unifier of Japan, basically.
yeah, the second one. The first
Second
one
one.
was Nobunaga because he laid the groundwork for this unification. And well, this campaign is set basically right when Hideyoshi is or has just conquered the land. I think that was in 1590. This starts in 1591, and as you can see, the Tokugawa own the previously Hojo-owned provinces Izu and Sagami. So clearly, the country has been united already. And Hideyoshi is in fact still alive, but you're already able to wage war against him, which is interesting. Pretty anachronistic, but okay. For the sake of gameplay, I'll accept that. And there's something else I wanted to say. I kind of forgot about it.
Okay, well, if it comes up, it comes up. It's all good.
Yep.
For now, I think we'll just go to the Tokugawa and then talk about Sekigahara and the Tokugawa shogunate that lasted for, I believe, 268 years, from 1600 to 1868, which was the beginning of the Meiji Restoration. So a ridiculously long dynasty. So Tokugawa Ieyasu is the son of Matsudara Hirotada, previously the daimyo of Mikawa domain. In his youth, Ieyasu was caught between the Oda and Imagawa, eventually becoming an ally of the former following the destruction of the latter. From here, the Tokugawa continued its steady climb to power, eventually emerging from the Oda's shadow after Nobunaga's death to eliminate the Takeda of Kai province. The current relationship between the Tokugawa and Toyotomi is rather strenuous. The two sides have already fought in battle against each other, and such an event may come to pass again.
May come to pass is a nice way of putting it. Yeah, well, it's again, I think this description is pretty good. It encompasses all the really important aspects. Um, so, well, he started off as a vassal of the... Well, his father started off as a vassal of the Imagawa, as you can probably see in the main campaign, because there you start in 1545, and the Tokugawa are the subordinates of the Imagawa. The Oda are this tiny little fraction of power next to them, and then of course historically we know that in 1560 Nobunaga defeated Imagawa Yoshimoto at Okehazama, yeah, despite having a tenth of his number, which I thought was pretty impressive. And following that, the Imagawa got destroyed, the Tokugawa became, well, as it says here, they became independent and attached themselves to the Oda. Basically remained their ally, challenged Hideyoshi once he came to power, but the battle ended in kind of a draw, so they decided they will just ally instead, and Hideyoshi went on to conquer the land. But Tokugawa, as far as I know, was never a vassal, really, of Hideyoshi's in that sense. That he swore loyalty to him personally, like, or his clan, and he, of course, as we know, ended up betraying him, or, well, not him personally,
because
but
he was
his
dead,
clan.
but yeah.
Right, and he seized power, which makes sense because, I mean, if you've been waiting for 40 years from 1560 to 1600 to become the most powerful warlord in the country and the ruler, then you might as well use that opportunity when it's presented to you, and that was presented to him when Hideyoshi died. His leadership was gone, and his son was a little boy. I don't know if he was like 6 or 8, but he was not capable of ruling. So that's what happened.
Well,
do we have any questions?
No, well, for those of you who played the intro battle, the Sekigahara battle in Shogun 2, you know that Ieyasu was amazing at the Battle of Sekigahara, what he did to basically mind game his opponent and win the battle before it actually began. He was fighting Ishida Mitsunari, correct?
Yes.
And do you want to talk about the battle and like what he did to sway some of his opponent's forces over to his side?
He did basically the same thing he had done before, like the Fukushima and, was it Kato? I believe Kato and Fukushima, those two clans which were real, like, staunch followers of Hideyoshi's. He managed to turn them around on the Toyotomi later, and that's probably how he bolstered his numbers. I mean, he was still undermanned during Sekigahara because his son was caught up fighting the Sanada over in Shinano, which was kind of a little bit too far away. Yeah, good move by the Sanada, by the way, for holding him up. But he still managed to win the battle by just manipulating the... what's his name again? Kobayakawa Hideaki, I think his name was? The guy who was sitting on Mount Matsuo, and, well, with that very important, well, arguably the most important position on the battlefield being turned around, he managed to swarm the flanks of Mitsunari and win despite inferior numbers. It's also worth mentioning that thanks to this whole betrayal thing, and thanks to certain clans not engaging in the fight at all because they didn't want to be on the wrong side, because everybody somehow seemed to believe that Tokugawa was the stronger man. Granted, he was stronger than a little kid, that's true, and that he would rule, so they decided not to fight. And others, which would have fought, were trapped behind them and couldn't really do anything.
And they wouldn't move off the mountain to let them pass, yeah.
So that wasn't even on the mountain. Like, the guys on the mountain turned, despite being related to the Toyotomi personally. So there's that. Or was it could have been a servant of the Toyotomis. I'm not sure. So please forgive me for that.
But basically, Sekigahara...
Mitsunari was crippled and then overrun, and eventually just... I don't know where he died. But he died, and he didn't do anything else after
And
this battle.
that was the end of Toyotomi power in Japan for the most part, correct?
Yeah, well, that was in 1600, and it took 15 more years before the Tokugawa saw enough of an excuse to go and destroy them for real, because they were gathering troops at Osaka, and so the Tokugawa went there, and they had like a summer campaign and a winter campaign, and after those two campaigns, Osaka fell, which resulted in actual unification. And I'm not sure, I believe that's when they established the Bakufu, not in 1600 but in 1615, because they needed to
Okay.
destroy the Toyotomi first. And I also don't know if it was Ieyasu who named himself Shogun, or if he named his son Hidetada, the guy who messed up in Shinano. But, well, eventually Hidetada became, of course, the Shogun, even when Ieyasu was still alive, so that's how the dynasty was established, that lasted for over 200
250 years roughly, yeah. And it was not until the Meiji Restoration, which we won't talk about in this video, that the shogunate was ended and the rule of the emperor finally came about. And the emperor finally had political power again.
Yes. Well, technically, they were ruling, in quotes,
The whole time.
the whole time, but they had no power. They were just like, kind of like the popes in Europe for a long time. When the popes lost power, they were just these puppets which people were trying to get hold of in order to legitimize their power. In China, it was the same thing too. Especially in, well, the one period that I've informed myself about to some extent was then when the Han Dynasty fell, and then the last couple Han emperors were just these props to use for whoever was the most powerful warlord surrounding that area.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, hopefully that history lesson was interesting for you. I actually love this stuff. Like, I honestly think I could read about this stuff all day. I hope you guys enjoyed it, but that was just to lay the groundwork for what's actually going to be happening in the campaign. It might be a very fast campaign. I'm not sure yet, and when we get down to the campaign map, we'll give an overview of what's occurred in our campaign so far, what provinces we've held, and how things are going to progress from there. But remember, it is head-to-head, Toyotomi versus Tokugawa, Smackdown. We're going to see who is going to unify Japan and establish a dynasty that will last for millions of years.
Millions of years, of course.
I hope you guys enjoy it. Please enjoy the campaign. Let us know what you think about the history lesson behind it. And this might end up being a separate video. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out later on. But we're going to hop to the campaign map now and get this going.
Alright. See ya then.
Peace.